Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. So in this discussion, we're going to be discussing the pedophile and rapist called David Wood, who confessed on his social media account that while he was 18 years old, he raped and sodomized a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old girl. So this is statutory rape according to our modern laws. So David came out clean and confessed his sins. For us, the dower mafia, he confessed to the dower mafia, us, right? So now he needs to be held accountable for his crimes. Christians don't want to come forward and, force an investigation. So unfortunately, it's left up to us. Why is it left up to us Muslims to try and investigate this and try and find out who these victims were? Because these victims need to come forward. Charges need to be laid and pressed because he himself admitted that this is something he did in the past. It's interesting because we don't see this sort of movement from the Christians who want to constantly demonize Islam, demonize, underage sex, demonize underage marriages, right? But yet we see nothing from the Christian side. They're just a bunch of hypocrites, right? You don't see the Christians coming forward and saying this needs to be investigated. We've got to find out who the victims are. We need to press charges on David Wood. Yes, fair enough, he's confessed his sin, but he needs to do time in prison. And we don't see that from the Christians, which goes to show what a double-faced hypocrite they are. They are a bunch of hypocrites. Shame on them all. And you know what? You guys proved one thing to us. You guys proved that you guys continuously throw all your sins, all your criminal activities under the rug. Just like you protected the Catholic Church for many, many years, where victims had to come out and confront the church because they were silenced. How many times they lied and they said they never did it. They concealed their sins. And they never confessed. They never admitted to it. And this was always heavily prosecuted in court. So much investigation had to be put forward because they would not come out and dob each other in. They would protect each other, right? The Christian church would protect each other. All the clergy, the authorities, the church figures, they would protect each other, right? So that's what you call the Christian mafia. And we see the same behavior happening now. We're seeing the same behavior. I haven't seen a single Christian come out saying he's going to push for an investigation. He's going to contact authorities. I mean, I'm in Australia. I can't do much from Australia. But whoever's in the United States needs to do something. I mean, we could rattle the cages from here in Australia. We can rattle some cages and see if we can get the ball rolling. But this is absolutely appalling that someone from overseas, someone who's not from America, is trying to whistleblow. I know Daniel Hakikato is doing some work in the States as well, but this is just absolutely shocking to me that nothing's been done about this. Now, here's the interesting thing, folks. We are just following David's testimony at this point in time, okay? This is why it really needs an investigation, a deep dive into this. Why? Because he only mentioned a 13 or a 15-year-old. Now, he himself admitted he wasn't even sure whether the 15-year-old was 15 or whether the 15-year-old was 17. God knows the 15-year-old could be even 10 years old. We don't know about this, right? We're only following what he's saying, what he's relaying to the public. And by the way, he turns around and says he was 18. Maybe he was much older. Maybe he was 25. Maybe he was 23. Maybe he was 30. I don't know, right? But what we know is that he's claiming he was 18 and the girl he molested was 13 years old, right? That is maybe not accurate. If he has a sexual attraction to minors, how do we know that there wasn't more? How do we know there wasn't more? How do we know it's just a 13 and a 15? Maybe they were much younger than that, right? Maybe they were much younger. And maybe he was even older. So this is why it needs an investigation, right? Now, it's bad enough that he was 18 and he sodomized a 13-year-old, but I'm saying he's probably just giving a version of the event which is possibly a washed-down version, right? Because if he was, say, 25 or 26 and he sodomized a 10-year-old, he's not going to give us the real story, right? And here's the tricky part. We don't even know, right, what age he went to jail. Now, he claims it was 18, but we don't have any verifiable court documents. And the reason why court documents isn't available is because some people are saying he must have been a minor when he got convicted. Now, maybe he was 17, and then by the time they threw him in prison and they had all the investigation, he was probably 18. And then he was on probation or something. I don't know. He went out of jail, then went back into jail. And during that time, he sodomized these girls. So I don't know. Was he 21? Was he 22? We don't know, right? Now, people are saying, oh, well, he's had so many interviews, major Christian networks interviewed him. That to us doesn't mean anything, right? We need to see court documents. So what David Wood needs to do, he needs to come clean, he needs to come forward and show us his court documents proving that when he actually engaged in these molestations, was he actually 18 or 19 at the time? Or was he much older? We need to see the court documents of when he was bailed out, when he was out on probation. We need to see those details. That should be, if he's a public figure and he wants us to believe in what he claims for us to believe, then he needs to come out clean and reveal those documents. Otherwise, we're going to speculate that maybe he's lying. Maybe he's actually older than what he was. Maybe the girls were younger than what they were. We need to find out who these victims are. Maybe these victims, were they traumatized? We want to hear their stories. We want to hear their accounts. Was it, did he lure them, right? Did he groom them? Did he follow them after school? What was the engagement like? I mean, what's an 18-year-old doing with a 13-year-old girl? Did she come over to his house? Were their parents there too? Like, what is the entire story behind this? Did he, I don't know, meet them at a underage dance party? We don't know what these details are. And what's a person doing out on bail, sodomizing younger girls? I mean, you're convicted of trying to kill your father, and the next thing that comes to your mind, oh, I'm just going to go have underage sex. I'm going to have sex with an underage girl. So nothing can be really verified through the courts. What is not verifiable publicly right now is there's no court records, no documents, no sentencing documents, no judge's notes, no news coverage. We don't have a independent media network showing him when he did this to his father and how, when he went to court and when he went to prison. No doc inmate records online. Many states do not digitize inmate records in the 1990s, so older entries often don't show up. No public available police or arrest reports. These typically must be requested individually by case number or county. So, so it's just going, unless David wants to clear his name and come clean, which I don't think. I mean, if this guy is guilty and he knows, well, he's already guilty. We've already established that, right? At the minimum, he claims he's 18 when he sodomized a 13, molested a 13 and a 15-year-old. But he's not going. Is he going to come clean about what the true nature is? And I think he needs to, because it's going to look worse if an official investigation does take place and we find out, not through David, but through the court investigation, that David was actually lying about the details of the case. The fact that, no, he wasn't 18, he was much older, and the girls were actually much younger. So, so unless he comes out clean, I mean, the wise thing for him to do would be to come clean before we hear it from the investigation team. Because if we hear it from the investigation team, it's going to look much worse on David's part. Why? Because not only is he claiming that his story of the events are true, that he did engage in this, he's actually manipulated and lied about the ages. And the only thing he'll probably do is, that was just such a long time ago and I didn't really have a record of what age they were. And he'll probably still end up trying to cover his tracks, because that's what he does. That's what a dirty liar like that would do. So in any case, but until then, we'll never know. So I think it would be wise for him to actually come clean, because if we find out that he's not telling the truth, I think he's going to be in a lot of shit if he doesn't. So the only way we're going to get this investigated, everyone. Now, I'm talking about all the Muslims, right? The Christians aren't going to do it. Don't expect the Christians are going to cover this up, right? The Christians are going to cover it up as much as they can. They're going to protect their false prophet, right? So what you need to do is, Muslims, every time David Wood comes out and tries to speak, just continuously hound him, talk about this, talk about how he's a child molester, how he's a rapist, whistleblow as much as you can, make it public so it can constantly get the media's attention, so it constantly gets authorities' attention. Because I'll tell you right now, if David Wood's name was Ahmed and he was a famous preacher, a famous Islamic preacher in America, I can guarantee you now that the very next day he spoke those words, within a week he'd get a knock on the door. Okay, from authorities. But when you're a non-Muslim, when you're a Christian, when you're a kafir like this who attacks Islam, you're protected, right? Clearly you're protected. Otherwise, why hasn't the authorities knocked on his door? Why haven't they said, "Hey, David, we heard you confess your sins. Great. Jesus forgave your sins. Yeah. We believe Jesus forgave your sins, but guess what? The state hasn't forgiven you. Come for an interview, right? We've got an arrest warrant. Come for an interview." And right, and we're not seeing that. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that it hasn't happened, right? And this guy is supposed to be famous, a famous Christian apologist in America, and he comes out openly saying this, and there's complete silence. Complete silence. right? And it goes to show how these people only flex their muscles against Islam and Muslims and, Pakistani grooming gangs in England, right? But when it's their very own, he's completely protected, right? Which exposes the double standards, and it really makes your stomach turn when you think about it, how evil these people are. So where are all these true Christians? Where are these real Christian warriors? Where are these real devout Christians for Jesus who do what is right, who forbid what is wrong? Where are they? Why aren't they going to authorities to speak about David? Why aren't they ringing the police? Why aren't they calling Triple O? Why aren't they saying that this man has declared that he has raped these girls? Why isn't there an investigation? Why? So we'll continue. All right. So they could protect and hide this as much as they want, but you know what? It's going to be more ammunition. We're going to continue to whistle blow this until justice is served.